r/AskReddit. What rule exists because of you? Not really a rule as much as just a sign. I once got drunk in my favorite pub, slipped in a puddle in the bathroom and took down the sink with me. After it was repaired, there was a shiny new no diving sign above the sink. It's good to see a sense of humor on one of these. The owner was awesome in general. I offered to pay for the broken sink, but he insisted that it wasn't my fault because of the puddle, and cleared my tab for that visit and my next one. When I was in high school, I lit a girl's hair on fire by accident during our National Honors Society induction ceremony. We had to carry candles for the whole induction, and after 30 minutes I tilted my candle a little too far forward without noticing. I've never felt so embarrassed or guilty, but luckily only a small part of her hair burned. Anyway, my younger sister told me 2 years later that at her ceremony they had to use electric candles because years ago a girl's hair was lit on fire. Oops. Something similar happened at my NHS induction, except someone dropped their candle. I have no idea if they used electric candles after that or not. So that's what they're spending the money on instead of healthcare. When I was 16, I was working at McDonald's. We were allowed $10 for lunch. I used my $10 to get just dollar menu stuff, so I feasted like a king. Within a month, I was told that I wasn't allowed to do that, and the $10 was changed to a free value meal and a dessert because someone was taking advantage of their lunch credits. Damn dude, I can't believe you would cut into McDonald's razor thin profit margins like that. IDK how they survived TBH. The school I went to from 3rd to 6th grade enacted a no gangs rule because of a club I started. My best friend and I made it up. We called ourselves the Midgets. We walked around with our knees up our shirts and propelled ourselves forward with our hands like apes. There were initiation tests for recruits to get in, such as cross the monkey bars without your legs slipping out of your shirt. Another one was getting your swing moving high and jumping off without your legs slipping out of your shirt. When I ran it with my friend, it was pretty harmless and we all just played games and stuff. I learned years later that after I went to middle school, the kids who took it over became bullies and would trip people in the halls and were generally ruffians. The principal confiscated the rule book I wrote up with the different tests to rank up and forbade all gang-like activity from the campus. I imagine you getting a school reunion invitation so you catch a flight back to your hometown. But it's nothing like you remember, just a strange, dystopian dream. The Midgets run the entire town out of a massive casino brothel at its center. The police are all on the take and everyone pays their protection. The mayor is just a scared puppet. You've never seen so many boarded up windows and abandoned cars. Everyone ambulates with their hands, their legs tucked fastly under their shirts as a sign of respect and obedience. Doors have been made 3 feet tall by mandate and there are no steps, only ramps. And you're just there like, what the duck did I do? They should make a movie called Walking Not So Tall. The high school I attended has a no typewriters rule. At least they did while I was there, and because of me. See, I went to a school that focused on science and technology. I also grew up in a house where both my mother and stepfather were IT professionals. I have always been around computers since I was 7 or so, and in high school I had a laptop I brought to school. That was permitted because we did use computers for a lot. However, being a youth with a laptop, at a school full of fellow nerds who also had laptops, we would often play video games, read Warcraft 3 Tower Defense and Dota maps. When we were supposed to be doing our class walk, I was the worst offender though. One day I was told not to bring my laptop to school again. My instructors figured if they could keep me off my computer, I'd do my work. What they didn't know is that I have a 1960s Remington quietwriter, which is a hilarious misnomer. Typewriter, briefcase and all. This is the real deal. Old school metal, all mechanical with a cloth tape and everything. It even makes the little ding at the end of the line and everything. So me, being the little shit that I was, said yes, I will do my class walk, but I'll do it on my typewriter. Cue one day of me typing up notes to the tune of taka 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 taka, ding. All throughout the day, my notes looked great, but it annoyed the hell out of the same instructor who told me not to use my laptop. About 3/4 the way through class he told me I can use my laptop as long as I don't use my typewriter. The other instructors agreed that they would rather I dong off on my computer than to distract the entire class. Sometimes I wonder how I graduated HS. Moa Daka. Bring in the typewriter. Wag. Security guards aren't allowed to use the Citizens Bank microwave and Citizens Bank office break room. I made a huge OTA led up to that. Gents, I got my dinner from the refrigerator and went to heat it up in the microwave. That's it. They saw it on camera and decided that it was a crime. I had full access to use the room to eat and get candy and soda from the machines. Microwave? Out of the question. Edit. It was grilled chicken, goddamn it. I don't eat fish. Fish sucks. I thought it was gonna be a forgot to put water in the cup of noodles duck up, but damn, that's a dumb ruling. I was waiting for the aluminum foil. A math teacher in my high school uses Khan Academy for homework, and we used to get graded by how much time we spend on Khan Academy per week. The rules changed when I had about 120 hours constantly per week because I just went AFK and they changed it to topics mastered. Time spent was a poor metric to begin with. Some people understand things quickly and won't need to spend too much time, while others will take much longer and even then won't quite understand. I had a school that provided 2 grades for every class, a point score and an effort score. So for example, English class score, A, based on your actual grades, effort, B, based on how much work the teacher thought you were putting into it, which was a crock of bullshit. Since if the teacher felt you weren't putting in a lot of effort, your GPA would suffer, even if you got perfect grades. Once in a while you could get something like maths, score, B effort, so the ultimate strategy was just to ask a lot of questions, even if you knew the answers, so the teacher would think you were putting in a lot of effort. Rule number 1. Your monthly motivational speech to the team at work must contain actual spoken words. Rule number 2. Your monthly motivational speech to the team at work may not contain NSFW pictures. Edit. Rule number 2 was created a couple of months after rule number 1, after my second monthly motivational speech. If the boss puts NSFW pictures in their speech, is it still NSFW? This will be on r/show thoughts. Not me, but due to my sister and my mom, my high school gained in school suspension. My sister was caught skipping school, so they were gonna suspend her. My mom was furious and forced the school to keep her there, cause why would you punish being out of school with being out of school? And thus, ISS was born. That's actually a good idea. I thought that said ISIS was born and was gonna say, hey man, don't blame yourself. My robotics team actually has caused several rule changes. The play ring will have concrete barriers around it for the safety of the competitors and bystanders. All autonomous sumo robots must weigh less than 50 pounds. All autonomous sumos must have a remote start. The original autonomous sumos were 125 pounds. So my high school team over-engineered a 16 horsepower robot that would wreak havoc on the competition. Knowing how fast and dangerous it was, we installed a remote kill switch that was occasionally flaky. Anyway, the original competition had started out with a 16x16 foot ring for the robots, with people standing around at the barrier. Our robot sees everybody's legs and does what it is designed to do, push whatever it sees out of the arena. The next year, we had highway level concrete barriers bordering the sumo rings. The rings also had a second wooden barrier screwed into the floor to separate the 2 sumo rings. Our robot plowed straight off the barrier 3 times one year. The judges ordered us to slow down our robot because it was too good. The next year, they lowered the weight limit to 50 pounds. We constructed a new robot using lighter parts, carbon fiber instead of aluminum, LiPo batteries instead of lead acid, etc. We also lowered the robot to 12 horsepower by lowering the operating voltage. Each match begins as soon as a judge blows a whistle. Upon hearing the whistle, the competitors are supposed to press the start button on the robot and run as fast as possible to get out of the arena. Unfortunately, one of the competitors was a bit slow to get out, and our robot saw him. We managed to stop our robot before it caught up with him, but the next year they required us to have remote start for some reason. I can't wait to see next year's rules. You all want pictures, so have some videos. Here are some videos of the heavyweight before they switched the category for autonomous sumos to lightweight: 2010, 2011, and 2012. It took us a few years to build the new robot, student time and all, so we didn't enter the 50-pound robot until 2015. The current high school team is working on creating the highlights video for this year. I graduated a few years ago, so I technically can't work on this bot. We have submitted a proposal for a college level lightweight, but that will probably take a year or so to assemble. Oh, we have a website here, too. My robotics team was a part of a BattleBots arena in PA. We made them change the list of banned materials 4 times. My favorite robot was basically a circular bulletproof glass ramp that would drive straight at the other bots and make them flip over by driving underneath them. None of the fairly measly weapons allowed by the competition had a hope of scratching the thing, so everyone just had to deal with us flipping them. And this is why wedge-type robots are no longer allowed in BattleBots. For the first 3 years of high school I sold brownies in class for 50 cents each. At first because I wasn't old enough to get a job, and then because I didn't want to get a job. I tried to keep it low key so they didn't shut me down. But by the start of my senior year there was a new section in the school handbook that explicitly forbids selling things in class. I sold cigarettes in high school, found a service station that was willing to sell cigarettes to underage people, bought a pack of 20 cigarettes for $7, sold each cigarette for $1, rinsed and repeated, made roughly $80 a day for around 4 months before everyone found the service station. I was only 13 at the time. In Australia BTW. I read this several times as $50. Like Jesus, how much weed was in them? No more sending memes to the CEO, CFO, and CTO. Sending memes is how you become the CEO, CFO, or CTO of a company. This company was built on dank memes, damn it. This one wasn't me alone, but a group effort. In my senior year of high school, 98, our class trip was a cruise to the Bahamas. Before we set sail, we found out that once we left U.S. waters, we were considered full age of majority and were allowed to drink and hit the casinos. Of course, we had it drilled into us that since this was technically a school function, school rules applied, so no drinking, smoking, gambling, Negro please. We went and lost our goddamned minds. Drank ourselves silly on the boat. Drank ourselves sillier once we hit various ports. Gambled, smoked, ducked, the works. A few of us even got video of some of our deeds. Once everyone started getting into it, the chaperones didn't even bother trying to stop us. As a result of our shenanigans, the school banned out of country class trips to avoid any repeats. A few years worth of underclassmen were royally pissed at us. Upvoting for the intentionally obscure racial exclamation. Is it possible that he heard that expression from an uncle or friend and started using it without realizing the meaning? I mean, it doesn't seem likely, but if there's even a 5% chance that this is what happened, I need to know. My high school's freshman students all participate in an egg drop project where everyone has to design a carrier to get an egg to fall unbroken from the top of the 4-story science wing with the carrier not exceeding some preset dimension. We were given one trial before the final due date, and if your first test was successful, you would get an A on the project and not have to participate during the actual project due date. Most students went the route of trying to create some form of padded box to protect the eggs with various packing materials, and some put a fair amount of effort into making parachutes. I put the egg into the middle of a toilet paper tube with cotton balls packed into the top and bottom of the tube, and tied a giant Marshall shopping bag to the top of it with a couple of pencils of the maximum allowable dimension glued to the handles to keep the bag open, and balled the whole thing up to pass the dimension requirement. Comparing my project to other students, it was immediately apparent that I had put in minimal effort. Because of how easy my design was to replicate, almost everyone whose first attempts failed redesigned theirs similarly to mine, and most worked. After my year there was a ban on parachutes for all future classes. I hate this backward thinking from teachers. Design has discovered the most efficient way to meet the brief, but they ban it, making it not a competition to encourage anything. Except it is encouraging design, since parachutes are already known as the best method to save something that's falling. By allowing parachutes, they would essentially have a best parachute contest, instead of a best crash box or whatever you want to call it. It does not make much sense from a real world business perspective, but a lot of sense from a physics class studying collisions perspective. Don't flash grandma. My grandma is an awful, guilt-tripping, manipulating, meddling bitch. I hate her. She's here for the summer, and probably longer. Needless to say, my summer is ruined. I'm pissed. I got a new bra in the mail and tried it out. Grandma was the one who got the package, and she kept badgering me about what was in it, and I just kept saying clothes. Then she asked me to show her and I said that I wasn't going to. It wasn't anything special. Then of course she had to act like I had kicked her and pouted and moaned and tried to guilt manipulate me into feeling bad that I hurt her feelings by not sharing or some shit, so I went duck it and pulled up my shirt and flashed her. Hence don't flash grandma. God, I hate this beach. Hey, it's me, grandma. You fool. The rule specifically states don't flash grandma. You can flash me, though, because I assure you I'm not your grandma. My high school was pretty small, and because of that, graduating students got to pick a member of the staff to make a speech and introduce us before we went up to the stage. The teacher I chose made a really epic speech with a lot of references, and at the end presented me with a replica necklace of the ring. Apparently at the staff meeting before next year's graduation ceremony, the principal made a point to tell everyone that gifts and 10-minute speeches weren't allowed. I'm pretty okay knowing that I'm the first and last student to have that privilege, TBH. My senior year in HS, I was massively bored. Ran into a friend with a car in the hallway. He was bored too. We hopped in his car and started driving. We stopped by his house so he could get some money, etc. From that moment on, no one saw or heard from us for 30 days. We ended up in Amarillo, from Philly, rented a place, got jobs, went to the food store, regular life. I was 17. He was 16. He ended up calling his mom. Party over. So because of this, they fenced in the parking lot and manned it with a security guard. Wait, you were bored so you decided to run away and become adults? Worst escape ever. It's a small one, but I'm a little proud of it. My D&D group has a cap on the maximum number of lions a single character is allowed. 8. Really, the rule applies to all large animal companions, but it was the lions that caused the rule to be adopted. Proud. Many. Lions narrows eyes. I'm gonna need the full story here. So when you refuse to move or quit, the company was kind enough to give you an easy job at full pay and benefits, and you respond by being a horrible employee, to the point of causing them hell over a domain name you didn't care about or use. I think this is the first time I've ever been on a corporation's side, and to hell with the downvotes. Not me, but a classmate. One of the guys on my speech and debate team was pretty buff. At tournaments in our state, the required dress code was business professional for competitors, and school team shirt for others. This dude would always wear a team shirt under his suit so that he could relax outside of rounds. At the beginning of the year, he would take the leftover shirts from the previous year and wear them to tournaments. After taking off his suit and jacket, he'd always tear these shirts, Hulk style, to show off his body. The tournament coordinators weren't so happy about this, so they asked our coach to make him stop. Our coach thought it was hilarious, so he didn't make the dude stop. The next year, included in most tournament rules, was a detailed clause defining and prohibiting stripping. It's hilarious to see the novices read the rules and come across the clause with a look of pure confusion. TL. Doctor, this dude kept pulling a magic mic, causing all of the schools to create a no stripping clause in the rules. In high school, I was on a skeet shooting team. A rule was made called the E rule, which stated that if anyone shot the trap house because they had an itchy trigger finger, they would be immediately disqualified. In my defense, I was challenged to shoot the clay as fast as I could, and I did break it as soon as it came out. Is the trap house the launcher? Because my first thought was a residence of ill repute that specializes in the sale of illicit substances. Hence the E rule. Everyone in my department has to work an extra half hour. We would work 8-hour shift, but I would always leave half an hour early and classify it as my lunch break. My logic was that as long as you took your lunch, Who cares when during my shift it was. Management caught on after a few months and now we all work an extra 30 minutes to compensate for lunch. On one hand, you got 30 minutes more of a life. On the other hand, 30 more minutes per day on the clock. Either way, the employees win. I'm guessing it was 8-hour shifts with a paid 30 minutes lunch before and now it's 5 hours with an unpaid lunch now. Just after I graduated high school, a few friends and I flew to England for a week and change. We stayed in a small town with my buddy's grandma. Conveniently, she lived across the street from a pub, which aside from the post office and the train station, was the only thing to do in town. We made friends rather quickly, and were astonished to find out they hadn't heard of beer pong. After a few nights of playing, it was banned when a handful of regulars got picked up for drunk driving. So, I guess the rule wasn't explicitly because of us, but if we hadn't shown up it wouldn't be in place for a few more years I think. Beer pong isn't as much of a thing over here as far as I know. Maybe it's caught on since I quit drinking, but the drinking mindset is, or was, a bit different too in the US. Yep, drinking games are seen as a kid's thing over here. Once you're an adult you don't have to pretend you're being forced to drink. During the state mandated testing the district would give us gum and some mints as well as a graphing calculator. Well, I saw a YouTube video where you could make a lighter using a gum wrapper and the battery and wanted to try it out. I got it right after the third stick of gum and burned about a quarter of my test booklet. https://yahoo BL-Henri-Q9C. Since then they don't issue gum at all anymore. Burning the questions doesn't give you points. However, it does get you suspended for a week. If ISIS bombs your street to school you still have to go. I did an exchange in Turkey recently and on my first week of school in Turkey I realized that I would never learn anything because of the language barrier. My program forbade me from ditching school though. Then in February there was a suicide attack on my route to school and I used it as an excuse to not go to school anymore. They didn't like that. Dude, WTF. Seriously, what kind of ducked up mentality is that? School is important and you can't miss it. Freshman year of high school in Jersey, we were allowed to leave campus for lunch and get something to eat. We had to walk through this neighborhood to get to this pizza place we would get pizza at. On the walk back, Dumbus a-hole me was bet from my friends that I wouldn't smash the pumpkin on some neighbor's lawn. So I did. A guy across the street saw and screamed for me to stop. I just ran. Somehow I got back to the school without them catching me. The next morning on the morning announcements the principal was talking about how we couldn't walk through that neighborhood anymore during lunch. Now, it was completely because of me, but I am sure I was the straw that broke the camel's back. My class was also the one that prevented anyone in my school from eating anywhere downtown because someone just went on their own and didn't make it back to class. From then on we had to sign up at the specific restaurant we'd be going to from a list of about 5 and would have to sign in out when we got there and when we left. It was always dumb. When I was in kindergarten they'd let everyone out in a mass sort of huddle while teachers sort of overlooked. My mom was late one day and I tried to walk home alone. Walked a block or two. Thought I had walked an endless journey and got lost. Sat and cried until someone took me back to the school where my mom and teacher were. After that, teachers had to let out the kids only as their parents approached them. Sensible footwear. Rule got more specific. Girls could no longer wear army issue boots to school. My reasoning. What was more safe and sensible than boots issued to paratroopers? Haircut no shorter than a number 2. British gradings on how close hair is clippered shaved. Rules got more specific. Girls could no longer have shaved heads. My reasoning. It was a perfectly reasonable haircut. According to the rules, it just didn't occur to them that a girl might want to shave her head. I caused trouble all through my secondary school career. 11-16. However, for all that, I was in all the sports teams, led the school orchestra, was one of the 4 debaters, and got the best exam result in my year. Yet, I was non-conforming, so was always being sent to the head. I started secondary 30 years ago. I hope it's changed. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.